It doesn't begin with a text. It doesn't begin with him showing up. It begins with energy, a pressure in the chest, a sudden calm, a dream that wakes you up in tears. You don't know why, but something is different. The connection is quiet, but it's not fading. It's circling back, because the universe doesn't need permission to align what's already written. And when reunion is near, the soul knows first. Not the mind, not the logic, but your body, your heart, your field. You feel him closer, not because you're chasing, but because you've stopped waiting. You've returned to yourself, and that magnetic return to your own frequency is what pulls him home. There's a thinning in the veil, a sacred pressure building. You don't need to do anything because everything has already begun. This is the energy before reunion. And these are the signs your soul was born to recognize. Are you ready to finally let it in? You thought everything was quiet. You thought nothing was happening. But the truth is, the field has been shifting beneath your feet. Not in loud, visible ways, not in messages or reunions or doors flinging open, but in subtleties, in stillness, in the silence that began to feel alive. Because when the universe prepares two souls for reunion, it doesn't always begin with movement. It begins with pressure. The pressure to release what no longer resonates. The discomfort of holding onto an old identity. The exhaustion from carrying timelines that aren't yours anymore. You've been feeling it, haven't you? Maybe you've had trouble sleeping, or your emotions come in waves. Unexplainable. One moment you feel at peace. The next, you're drowning in memories of him. You keep seeing his name. You hear a song and it hits too hard. You feel him, even when you wish you didn't. But this time, it's not longing, it's not yearning, it's the field adjusting to make room for something new, something sacred. There's a sacred order to union, and one of its first signs is discomfort. Because your body can feel what your mind doesn't know yet. He's being moved, not by guilt, not by obligation, but by the same divine hand that brought you to your knees and then raised you from the ashes. So if everything feels like it's standing still, ask yourself, why do I feel like something is coming? Why does the air feel heavier or sweeter without reason? Why does my soul whisper his name when I'm not even thinking of him? Because the universe has already issued the command. The timeline has shifted, and now your body is recalibrating. Your soul is expanding to hold what's already yours. And the masculine is beginning to feel the consequences of not answering his soul's call. You've already done your part, haven't you? You let go. You surrendered the outcome. You stopped begging. And in doing that, you returned to your frequency. That return is what magnetizes. That return is what tells the universe, I'm ready, not for the fantasy, but for the truth. And now, the energy that once held him in delay is breaking. You may not see it, but the ripple has already begun. He's having dreams. He's remembering things he tried to forget. He's questioning choices he once swore were final. He's starting to feel out of place in the life he created. And he doesn't know why yet, but it's you. It's your energy no longer waiting but anchoring. It's your presence in his field even when you've gone quiet. It's the version of you he thought he could forget, evolving into someone he can't ignore. The universe doesn't need your help. It needs your alignment. Because alignment is what unlocks reunion. Not waiting. Not checking signs every hour, not rereading old messages, but choosing to live as the woman who already knows she is loved, even in the absence of words. Because your union was never about becoming worthy. It was always about remembering you already were. And in that remembrance, you became unresistible to everything meant for you. So when the field starts shifting, you'll feel it first, long before anything happens in 3D, long before a knock on the door or a text appears or an apology is spoken. The soul knows. And now it's calling, not in desperation, but in truth. This is the beginning, not of a chase, not of more confusion, but of alignment. And once alignment is set, resistance has no place left to hide. Not in him, not in you. Not in the story that kept you separate. The field has moved, and so have you. You're not standing in the same place anymore, even if it looks like nothing has changed. Because in the language of the soul, everything already has. There's a moment in every sacred journey when the outer world falls completely silent, but the inner world begins to roar. You've entered that moment, and it's not marked by fireworks or big cosmic confirmations. It's marked by whispers, by quiet knowings, by signs that don't ask for attention, but deliver truth to your bones. Because the divine doesn't scream, it aligns. And when reunion is near, everything begins to shift in secret. You might not notice it at first. It might look like you're just tired or moody or strangely nostalgic. But underneath it all, your soul is registering a frequency. He's coming closer. Not because he sent a message, not because you pulled a card that said, Union is here, but because the vibration between you and him is now undeniable. It's becoming whole again. And with that return come signs, subtle, strange, sacred signs. Have you noticed the dreams that feel like real conversations? The way time bends, hours disappear or stretch unbearably long. The repeating numbers showing up again after months of quiet. The shift in your body, sometimes heavy, sometimes electric, sometimes like you're standing at the edge of something holy. You're not imagining it. You're feeling the blueprint of reunion waking up again. But here's what no one tells you. Before it becomes visible, it becomes undeniable in the unseen. Because reunion doesn't start when he knocks on your door. It starts the moment the timelines converge. The moment both souls, even if unconsciously, start choosing truth over fear. So pay attention, not with your eyes, but with your soul. That strange moment of stillness before sleep, when you feel his hand, even though no one's there. That memory that randomly returns, but this time with no pain. That ache in your heart that suddenly turns into warmth, as if the goodbye you lived through is unraveling. That's not nostalgia, that's realignment. The divine masculine is receiving messages too. But his signs come differently. He feels your absence like a storm. He sees your face in crowds, but doesn't know why his heart races. He hears your name and can't pretend it's just a coincidence anymore. But most of all, he feels the urgency, the sacred tension that whispers, "You're running out of time." And that whisper isn't a threat. It's an invitation. Because the universe is reweaving your connection, not from where it broke, but from where it was always whole. So what are these invisible signs really asking of you? They're not asking for action. They're asking for presence. They're asking you to stay in your truth, even when nothing is happening yet. Because this time, the shift isn't about chasing or fixing or waiting. It's about holding the frequency of reunion so fully that he can't help but rise into it. Let go of needing to understand it all. Let go of demanding proof. Because the soul doesn't need evidence. It remembers, and yours does. That's why it's stirring now. That's why the signs are increasing. That's why silence feels sacred again, not empty. You've entered the veil between timelines, and in this place, only faith can walk forward. Only trust can hear what the ego can't. Only love, not attachment, not longing, but true love, can hold the space that allows reunion to root itself. So when the signs show up, welcome them. Don't question, don't control, just receive. Receive the confirmation that your inner world is no longer out of sync with his. Receive the knowing that even if he doesn't understand what's happening, his soul is being pulled home. And remember, before the flowers come, the roots stretch. Before the words are spoken, the energy shifts. Before the 3D moves, the unseen aligns everything. You're in that alignment now, and even if your human self doubts it, your soul already knows. You're not waiting anymore. You're being summoned. You don't need to hear his voice to know he's near. Because when a twin flame's frequency starts reaching you again, it doesn't come with noise. It comes with resonance. It begins subtly, like a breeze brushing against your skin that wasn't there a second ago. A random moment of stillness. A forgotten song playing when you walk into a store. His name on a passing license plate, or a wave of warmth in your chest for no physical reason. It's the moment your spirit remembers his vibration and realizes it's no longer behind you, but circling closer. You can't explain it. Your body just knows. Because the soul always feels before the eyes can see. There is a sacred echo that twin flames and through the field. It's not tied to location. It's not limited by time. And when his soul starts waking up, you feel it in your sleep, in your mood, in your energy. You might suddenly crave rest, not because you're tired, but because your field is recalibrating. You might feel lightheaded, not because something is wrong, but because something is clearing. The energetic interference begins to dissolve, and what remains is his core essence. Do you feel like he's been in your dreams lately, but not as the version who left you, as the one who's remembering? That's not imagination, that's reception. When a divine masculine's frequency starts reaching you again, it's because a choice is being made on the soul level, not always consciously, but always deliberately. You feel the pull because something in him finally stopped pushing against it. And in that silence, a bridge reforms. This is when the signs get stranger. You may think of him and instantly get a confirmation. A feather, a number, a song, a surge of emotion. You may feel sudden waves of grief, but not yours. His. Because this is the beginning of his return to presence. Not presence with you externally, but presence with his own heart. And when a masculine returns to his own heart, he remembers what's in it. He remembers you. But this phase is not for chasing. It's not for interpreting his silence as rejection. It's for staying still in your knowing. because if his frequency is reaching you, it means your frequency has become strong enough to receive it. And isn't that what this journey was always about? Not waiting, but becoming so rooted in who you are that when the universe lets his signal pass through again, you don't panic, you recognize it. You feel it in your spine, in your womb, in the parts of you that don't need proof to believe. You just know he's waking up, and you don't need to be near him to feel it. It can happen across oceans, across timelines, across lifetimes, because soul memory doesn't forget, and the imprint of you has never left him, no matter what he tried to bury. You're feeling him now because something has shifted, not just in your field, but in his. And even if he's silent, even if nothing looks different on the surface, his soul has started knocking on the door again. Not out of desperation, not out of need, but out of recognition. He's remembering the home inside your light, and he's trying to find his way back, not by asking for directions, but by matching the frequency again. So, if you feel the sudden urge to soften, to breathe deeper, to stay present with yourself, know this. It's not random. You're being aligned to the exact vibration that will receive him when he's ready to return as the version that can stay. Because reunion isn't about effort, it's about resonance. And when you no longer need to reach out, you'll notice his soul starting to reach in. You don't feel him return the moment he reaches out. You feel him return long before that, in the quiet places, in your breath, in your womb, in the aching calm you can't explain when everything else around you feels unchanged. It doesn't come with a warning. It doesn't look like a sign. It lives in the cells of your body, like a soft echo you forgot you were waiting for. Suddenly, the air is different. You wake up and your chest is heavier, but it's not sadness. Your tears come faster, but they don't come from pain. There's a gentle unraveling inside you, like your heart has started listening again. Not with expectation, but with recognition. It's not logical. You'll try to brush it off. You'll question yourself. Am I imagining this again? You'll remember how many times you thought it was time, and it wasn't. But this time, the sensation doesn't want to be understood. It wants to be felt. It begins like a current beneath your skin. A slow pulling, not outward, but inward, toward the center of your own soul. You might notice his name appearing in odd places. You might hear a song that holds your story, not the one you lived, but the one you almost did. And then your body remembers. The longing something that never needed words. The tension between your bones that had nothing to do with pain. The way your silence was never empty. It was holy, because your body doesn't lie. You've always been connected through the field, not the physical. And when his soul starts reaching for yours again, your field, your sacred feminine body, becomes the first to respond. Not because you are waiting, but because you are attuned. You don't chase what's returning, you feel it. It comes as stillness, not stagnation, but peace. You stop needing to prove. You stop needing answers. You stop needing him to understand what you already know and have always known. There's a pause in your timeline. Things slow down. Dreams become more vivid. You start remembering versions of him you hadn't thought about in years. Not with anger, not with longing, but with a strange grace, like your soul is releasing everything you held to make space for what's coming. He's coming, but not the boy who left, not the man who resisted, not the version who needed fixing. What's reaching you now is the frequency of someone who has faced himself in places no one could go with him, and you'll feel it, not as a knock on your door, but as a trembling in your field. You might feel physical symptoms, a sudden exhaustion, pressure in your chest, dreams where he doesn't speak, but stands beside you, wordless, soft-eyed, different. You might cry without knowing why. You might smile through tears you didn't realize were still inside, because this isn't just his return. It's the return of your own softness. The part of you that stopped believing he could ever come back as love. The part of you that surrendered not just the person, but the entire idea. And now, your body is being asked to receive again. And that is where it gets scary. Because the feminine that is truly powerful is not the one who waits in silence. It's the one who dares to open again after silence has made her whole. You're not waiting anymore, but you are sensing you're not holding space for him. You're holding space for the truth that's on its way. And that truth carries his name, not the old one, but the new one written in the language of transformation. And it's not always a joy-filled moment. Sometimes it comes with grief. You feel the weight of everything he didn't say, everything he lost before finding his way back to himself. Everything you let die in order to truly live. And yet, your body knows how to hold it all. You were made for this kind of reunion, the kind that doesn't need permission or performance, the kind that happens in layers, in vibration, in the breath between lifetimes. So if you're asking yourself why your chest has been tight, why you're waking up with tears that don't make sense, why your dreams feel more like visits than symbols, It's because his soul is remembering you, and your field is opening. You are being called not to wait, but to receive, to feel, to surrender to the knowing that even if it doesn't happen in the way you imagined, something has already shifted. And when the masculine returns like this, from within, not from guilt, from awakening, not desperation, you don't meet him with questions. You meet him with embodiment. Because your field was never a cage for him to re-enter. It was the home he had to remember by losing it. And now, without warning, you are starting to feel the sound of his soul again, and your heart, without needing anything from him, is whispering, "Welcome back." There's a truth that lives deeper than memory, deeper than karma, deeper than every version of you that ever tried to explain this connection to anyone, even to yourself. You didn't choose this bond, you recognized it. Before there were names, before there were stories, before there was even a timeline that made it possible, you felt it. And that's how you know this is not about logic. This is about alignment. The universe doesn't play with souls like yours. It designs them, pairs them, separates them only when the illusion of distance becomes necessary for remembering truth. Because this is the truth. What the universe joins, nothing can separate. Not silence, not distance, not other people, not pain, not even forgetting. Because forgetting is not the end. It's the prelude to remembrance, and remembrance is the path to union. You've walked through lifetimes where he didn't recognize you, where he turned away from you, where he chose others, and yet you still felt the thread. Even in this life, when it didn't make sense, when he resisted, when it looked like he had moved on, you still knew, not with your mind, but with your frequency. And that frequency doesn't lie. It vibrates louder when something sacred is near. It contracts when something false enters the field, and it expands, silently, powerfully, when your counterpart begins to awaken again. So many times you've asked yourself if this is real, if it's just fantasy, if maybe it was just a one-sided illusion. But if it was only you, why does the universe keep preparing you for something that hasn't arrived yet? Why do the numbers repeat? Why do the dreams intensify? Why do the signs come strongest when you finally let go? Because letting go was never the end. It was the beginning of divine timing. And divine timing is not built on calendars. It's built on coherence. When your field becomes coherent with your soul's truth, when you stop begging for alignment and start being the alignment, when you stay looking back and start moving from within, that's when the universe begins to conspire. Not to bring him back, but to bring him forward into the version of himself that was always meant to meet you here. And even when it looked like the bond was broken, it wasn't, because you can't break what was made from the soul. You can only delay its activation. And now the activation is happening. He's feeling you in his body again, and he doesn't know why. He's seeing your name in places that don't make sense. He's feeling a pull that doesn't feel like desire, but like destiny. And destiny is not a force that can be manipulated. It's a frequency that demands surrender. So if you've been asking why you feel him more now than ever, why you're suddenly dreaming of his eyes again, why your body is reacting before your mind understands, it's because the field between you is alive, and the field has no interest in illusions. This connection doesn't need closure. It needs awakening, and that's what's happening. Even if you don't speak, even if he hasn't returned, even if nothing in the 3D looks different, everything is different in the field, because the field doesn't lie, the field doesn't cling, the field doesn't chase, the field remembers. And when both souls begin to vibrate in that memory, when one surrenders and the other stops waiting, when both release the versions that were rooted in pain and open to the versions born from light, the universe begins to move quietly, relentlessly, with a force that cannot be stopped. Because what the universe joins, no fear can separate, no time can dissolve, no choice can destroy. Your union is not dependent on his understanding. It's anchored in your embodiment, and embodiment speaks louder than words ever could. So when he returns, or begins to, don't look for the version of him that left. Look for the frequency that called you forward all along, the one that was buried under confusion, the one that had to die in order to rise again. And if he doesn't come in the way you expected, trust that what's yours will find you, not because you forced it, but because you finally stopped resisting your own light. You didn't imagine this. You felt it. You anchored it. You prepared for it, not just in this lifetime, but in many. And now the universe is aligning timelines, because what's written in the stars will always echo in the soul. And what the soul recognizes, it never forgets. So let this be your truth today. If it was divinely written, it cannot be undone. If it was fused in the field, it cannot be erased. If it was created by love, then no shadow, no silence, no story can break it, not even you. Because this isn't just love, it's source, it's soul, it's a promise made before form. And the universe never forgets a promise like that. You're not imagining it. That tightness in your chest, that sudden flood of emotion that has no name, that inexplicable calm followed by a rush of tears. There's something in the air, something you can't see but feel. And it's not just energy, it's arrival. The truth is, it's closer than you think. Not because someone told you, not because you're forcing a timeline, but because your soul is finally quiet. It's not longing, it's not desperation, it's not waiting. It's a silent knowing that what you've held in your spirit for so long is finally beginning to echo back. The divine masculine is feeling the magnetic pull, but more than that, he's feeling the collapse of everything he once used to resist it. He doesn't have the same armor anymore, not because you demanded it off, but because your evolution made it too heavy to carry. This journey was never about chasing love. It was about remembering union. And remembering is not something you can force onto someone else. It's something you embody so fully that it activates the truth in another. And that's exactly what's happening now. Your field has stopped reaching, it started radiating. He doesn't understand what's pulling him closer. He doesn't know why your name shows up when he's not even thinking of you. He doesn't know why a dream, a song, a voice, yours, won't leave him alone. But that's not confusion. That's the field working. That's the divine remembering. Your soul's already agreed on this moment. And it doesn't look like the fairy tales you once imagined. It looks like stillness. It looks like surrender. It looks like spiritual gravity. Because union isn't an event. It's a frequency, and you've already stepped into it. What he's feeling now isn't pressure. It's the consequence of your alignment. You're no longer a concept in his life. You are a mirror, and that mirror is reflecting back everything he lost when he didn't choose love. Everything he buried when he silenced his truth. Everything he denied when he avoided surrender. And yet, he feels you, not as a memory, but as presence, not as fantasy, but as direction. And the universe? It's quiet now because the field is already prepared. You've done your part. You've collapsed timelines with every moment you chose to stay in your truth instead of falling into old wounds. You've rewritten your story by not rewriting his. You've chosen peace over pursuit, alignment over attachment, radiance over reaction. And that's why it's so close now. Because when you let go of the outcome finally has space to breathe. The signs have been increasing, haven't they? The the time prompts, the songs, the eyes you see in meditation, the emotions that rise out of nowhere. The masculine is not just awakening, he's dissolving. And in that dissolution, a new version is emerging. One that doesn't resist the pull. One that remembers you not as a wound, but as home. One that chooses, not because he's ready in the way the world defines readiness, but because he can no longer stay away from what his soul already chose. So here's the final truth. The energy of reunion isn't waiting in the future. It's already circling you. It's not something you'll see first. It's something you'll feel. And when the masculine finally steps forward, in whatever way he is, it won't feel like something new arriving. It'll feel like something ancient returning, because that's what it is. A return, not to who you were, not to the old version of love, but to the original truth, the one you both wrote into the fabric of your being before this life began. So rest now, beloved soul, not because nothing's happening, but because everything is. Union isn't waiting on a perfect version of him. It's arriving through the perfected version of you, and it's closer than you think.